Hi, my name is Cameron Henry. Welcome to 1979. I'm going to show you an in-depth way to properly align and calibrate your turntable. Doing so is important when listening to reference lacquer or a test pressing because it will accurately play back your music the way as it was intended. Um, It'll also prevent your records from being damaged. So the first step with turntable alignment is making sure your turntable is level. So you can use a level, or there are apps you can download on a phone and make sure that it's level this way and this way. This one is already level, so we can move on. The second step is calibrating our tone arm. If you want to come in and take a look at it, what we're going to be working with is the counterweight at the end of the tone arm here, and setting the counterweight so that the downward tracking force, meaning how much force is going to be pushed down on the record, is set properly. Now, every cartridge, which is this guy at the very end that your needle's attached to, has its own recommended tracking force. We have a Grado Black cartridge, and they recommend a downward tracking force of anywhere from 1.5 to 2 grams, but specifically they recommend 1.75 grams. So we're going to set ours accurately using a force gauge. Now this one you can purchase online. They also make little balance ones. Shure makes one. This one is a little more accurate, and it's just a balancing counterweight. So we haven't kind of guessed where it's going to be. I'm going to just put the needle on here, and it says we are 1.66 grams, 1.7, so we're a little bit light. So I'll take the tone arm off of the gauge, and I'm going to move the counterweight forward towards the cartridge just a hair to make it a little heavier. 1.8, so I'll split the difference. $1.79. We'll live with that. That's not bad. So now that we're set with our downward force, what I like to do on the end of the counterweight there, this numerical value, I always set my desired spot right at 0. Now when I spin this part, I'm not moving the counterweight, I'm just moving this space indicator. So when 0 is right on that black line, I can, if it ever gets moved, I can move it back to that exact same spot. I know 0 is exactly where I want this cartridge to be. Anytime you change the needle or the cartridge, you want to check this. Or after you have a party and people mess with your turntable, you always want to double check that and make sure it's correct. All right. The other thing we want to check is the angle of the playback stylus. It's very important that the playback stylus stays parallel to the groove as it rides through the record. And obviously at different points on the record, the angle may change. And so we can use what's called a protractor on our turntable. So the protractor has 2 different points. You can see there's a point here and a point here that we want to make sure our cartridge is lined up with that grid. If it is askew in any way, you're going to get distortion problems or have your left and right channels not play back correctly. So it's very important that we check this. And to do so, we simply lay the cartridge down on that first spot and see that it is perpendicular with the lines. And we're not looking at the gray head shell. What we're actually looking at is this black cartridge right here, the thing that says Grado on it. And it's hard to see on the camera, but from directly overhead you can see that they're lined up with the grid. Then we'll check the second spot and make sure that it is the same. And that looks really good. If for some reason we had to make an adjustment, you would just simply loosen these 2 screws on top of the head shell and twist the cartridge this way or that way depending on what it is. So now that that's properly set up, we can set our anti-skate. Now a simple way to set your anti-skate is to, if you come look at this knob, you want to just match your number, whatever your counterweight was at, which is ours was 1.75, and match the anti-skate that way. Another great way to do it, if you have a blank record or one of our reference lacquers, is use the blank side of the reference lacquer. So all of our reference lacquers come with music on one side, like this, and the back side is completely clean. you can put the reference lacquer on backwards and let it play and set your tone arm down, and notice how the tone arm does not move in either direction. If it starts to skate towards the center like this, that means you would have to beef you have to tweak the anti-skate. The idea is to get it in a place where it doesn't move either way. And I'll fake it here. I'll put it at a wrong setting. See how it wants to just drift towards the center? That is incorrect, and it's automatically doing its thing. So if I put it back to 1.75 where we had it, the tone arm stays exactly where it is. And that way it's not putting pressure on one wall or the other. It's riding the groove right up the middle, even Steven. And once that is all set, you're welcome to turn your reference lacquer over, and it's time to give your record a listen. And that's for another video.